Yu-Gi-Oh is coming back to the channel with Yu-Gi-Oh Master Duel. I have found a new way to play this, and we're gonna bring some CPU tournaments to the Alka1993 channel. I intend to create a bunch of CPU decks at different levels. So very basic decks, super complicated combo decks for many different characters. Mostly ones from the anime. Think Yugi, think Merrick, think Kaiba. Think Yusei, think Yugi's grandpa. Think Rex Goodwin. Think Yuma. So many different characters, major characters, minor characters. And then some characters from various video games, like let's say some of the Tag Force characters. And maybe some one or two exclusive characters that I just designed myself, like there will be one in this video today. What you're seeing right now is an example of what these tournaments will be like. Right now I have 4 that I would consider level 1 decks. The more basic ones that can still do something, have some comeback potential, have some relatively strong cards, but are still pretty darn basic. Like, you're not going to see a card like Tongyo, like here in Meiko Tsunami's hand, because it's Meiko Tsunami versus Rex Raptor. You're not going to see a card like Tongyo beyond level 1, unless it is an important piece to a combo. The idea here is that, if you remember some of my Tag Force tournaments that I used to do, some of the Master Duel videos and streams, because there'll be a lot of streams of this, and then there's the VOD going up on YouTube, is I just make big tournaments with characters using the same or very similar levels of dex in strength, and then they fight together, and then whoever wins the tournament is the champion, and that's cool. However, a little bit inspired by WWE, I'm not going to make the characters wrestle, but I'm going to introduce titles, like 1 or 2 titles, and then try and create a story about how I narrate things, and maybe add some extra lore before and after duels and streams to bring everything a little bit more to life, make it more interesting, have characters want to chase the titles, perhaps have like a Pro League ranking, because you have Pro League in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like Zane Truesdale is known to be there, Aster Phoenix is known to be there, the D is supposed to be at the top, or at least was for a certain bit of a GX. And there's other characters that have gone to the Pro League as well, and I feel like I could make a Pro League, sort of, and then have like 1 or 2 titles that people chase, and then just have some general tournaments. Sometimes it'll be themed tournaments, like only male characters, only female characters, only young characters, or only characters that use specific types or attributes. There's a lot of different ideas. Right now, I have, for this video, I'm going to show you multiple duels. Because all of these tournaments, unless specified otherwise, will be best 2 out of 3 matches. So Meiko Tsunami here beats Rex Raptor. That's the first one. However, I can just start up the duel again. And we're going to see game 2. See if Rex can bring it back. This example tournament uses 4 V1 decks, so the most basic out of the ones that I've created so far. I'm currently thinking creating 5 versions, with the 5th one being the optimal deck for a character. Like, it'll still have some themed cards for a character, and some characters with their theme just aren't as competitive as certain others. But everything with the right support cards, with the right spells and traps and monster lineup, can still be really, really good. Especially if it's AI against AI. So, for this example tournament, it'll just be 4 characters. In a tournament, the winners move on to the final, and the winner of the final wins the tournament. In the rest of the tournaments, there might be 16-person tournaments, there might be 32-person tournaments, if I really have the time and feel like doing that. Most tournaments will have more difficult, well, more complicated decks, at least version 2, but it just depends what I feel like. Depends on the theme of things. And there will be a match for 3rd place as well. Now, the winner of the tournament, whether they get a title or something else, that is something I have yet to decide for each specific tournament. But let's say characters that are in the top 2 or top 3 positions in the first few tournaments after this example introduction one might be the ones that start off in the Pro League, or might be the ones that together go into a little tournament to decide the first, like, person to hold a championship belt or something like that. That is something I've yet to decide the details of. For this tournament, we have Mako Tsunami, Rex Raptor, Jaden Yuki, and then Jimmy Bob. Jimmy Bob is a custom character. I'm gonna take like the Tag Force character whose eyes you can't really see, just a slight red guy with a cap. That's Jimmy Bob. And then Jimmy Bob can use whatever deck I feel like I give him, but it's not gonna be only water monsters, or only pyro monsters, or an archetype like Gravekeepers, or Weatherly cards, or anything like that. That's not how Jimmy Bob will work. Jimmy Bob is going to use what is considered a cookie deck. So just a bunch of cards, just have good stats and just some good cards. No super synergy between them. That's Jimmy Bob's thing. Which characters would you like to see in the future? After this duel, now that Mako has beaten Rex, I'll show you what characters I've prepared right now. I'm not going to show you their full decks, but I'll explain a little bit of where I'm going with deck ideas and how I decide on what is a different version of the deck, like version 1 through 5 and the difficulty setting of it. Well, let's go to Challonge, because I will host all of these tournaments on Challonge. We go to Mako Tsunami Rex Raptor, Mako wins 2-0. And you see Jaden Yuki versus Jimmy Bob right here. These are the decks I've prepared so far. It's just a few, but it's just been me testing certain things out. These are the 4 for the initial tournament. Oh, Jimmy Bob has to change one of the cards. We'll do that after this tournament. For level 2, I've already made Jaden Yuki and Mako. Not every character will have every like difficulty setting or every version of a deck. But I decided to make Mako and Jaden to teach myself the real differences between version 1 and version 2. In version 1, there's no extra deck. So you're going to see here in Jaden's deck, there's some Element Hero stuff, but there's no extra deck. There's no extra deck, but also no ritual monsters for version 1. Version 2, it's still mostly cards that the character would use themselves. With not super strong support. You're not going to see a lot of great spells and trap cards. But some that could, in certain situations, be super powerful, like Monster Reborn and Miracle Fusion. And there's a few of the earlier fusions that Jaden has in the anime. The average stat totals of the monsters will slightly increase, but not by too much compared to version 1. Then in version 3, let's use Yusei as an example. You get to use the full extra deck. You don't get to use the full extra deck in version 2 usually. The average stat line for Yusei's monsters is a little on the low side, but that's because his power comes from the Synchro Summons. Spells and Trap lineup does become a bit stronger too, but isn't, let's say, full force yet. While if you go to a version 4 deck I have for Atticus Rhodes, the main theme should stay the same. So for Atticus Rhodes, I decided that would be the Red Eyes theme. I have some Red Eyes cards, but then you can have a bunch of powerful cards around it. Also, occasionally, I'm perfectly okay with breaking the Forbidden Limited list. If I feel like it fits the character or their deck type. Most of these cards, especially the Synchros and the Excesis, were not used by Atticus Rhodes, but I'm okay with them using it. It's more out of the comfort zone of the character, out of the cards that would normally be used. And then you have Mirror Force Torrential, 3 Bonos, 3-dimensional Prison as the trap liner for Atticus Rhodes to show you it's a lot stronger there too. And then version 5, which I haven't built for anyone yet, is, you could argue, the ultimate version. You could always argue that, yeah, it could be more competitive, but for these CPU duels, I feel like I want V5 to be the ultimate version. Now let's continue with Jaden versus Jimmy Bob. Again, best 2 out of 3. Most of these tournaments likely will be streamed. Probably on Twitch, but maybe I'll do like a stream of YouTube and Twitch together. If I decide to do it. I haven't decided exactly how or when. I much more prefer streaming on Twitch. But I realize most of my audience is on YouTube, so I'll try to find a balance. The VODs will certainly end up on Twitch, though. And if I do the streams, then at the start of the stream, I will enable bracket predictions, so people can predict what they think all of the results will be in the tournaments and who they believe eventually will win. Oh, here's Judge Man. Jaden has a Judge Man in version 1. Version 1, I believe, has 10 normal monsters level 1 through 4, then 10 effect monsters level 1 through 4, 2 level 5 or 6 monsters, 1 effect, 1 normal. In Jaden's case, Judge Man is the normal one. And then 1 level 7 plus, level 7 or 8 normal monster. Ooh, Magical Arm Shield. And for Jaden, that's Elemental Hero Neos. That felt most fitting. Ooh, there's the ace monster for Jimmy Bob, but it got straight up destroyed by Widespread Ruin. There's not a lot of cards in the version 1 decks that can beat something as big as a Metal Armored Bog or a Blue Eyes Eye Dragon, Dark Magician, stuff like that. There's like 1 or 2 equipped cards. Rex and Mako have their field spells, Jurassic World and Yumi. And then you might have something like a Widespread Ruin or Sakuretsu Armor, maybe a Fissure or a Smashing Ground, but that's about it in a deck. So once you can get your big monster out and it's not immediately destroyed by something like Widespread Ruin, you're looking pretty good. Skyscraper 2 is helping out. There's definitely a big force there for Jaden. Ouch! Kazaki self-destruct button. 1000 damage to Jaden. Vision Hero Vi and a Shadow Mist have a nice combo. There's no fusion, so no polymerization in this deck. But otherwise, Vision Hero Vi can do even more. And with Asilo Hero... Oh, actually, not quite yet, because there was the half damage. But Element Hero, Sparkman, and Asilo Hero do finish it off. Jaden takes game 1 against Jimmy Bob. Sometimes you have characters whose decks just do a lot better than others. If there's certain decks that summon a bunch of cards from the graveyard, but they happen to be playing against Merrick Ishtar, just regular Merrick, not Yummy Merrick, but regular Merrick who's playing Gravekeepers. Yeah, that's kind of difficult if Necro Valley locks your graveyard down. Now, also something I've decided between the different versions. Let's say I have a deck for Seto Kaiba. I currently do not. The first 3 versions of the deck, it'll be mostly cards that Seto uses in the anime, with a bit of freedom for me to find a specific type of monster or spell or certain support that I feel like is fitting. But since the anime that Seto Kaiba appeared in, the original anime, there has been so much Blue Eyes support. His deck becomes so much better. It is in version 1 through 3 that you won't see much of that support at all. Mostly the original monster and what I can do with that. Then in version 4, you'll see more of that support. Let's say a Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, Azure Eyes Silver Dragon, some of the tuners and synchros. And then version 5, we're going to have a lot of it, that support. That's sort of where I'm going with some of the characters, especially some of the early characters, like a Yugi, like a Kaiba, that have a lot of support. Jaden right now is a version 1 and a version 2 deck. If I make him a version 3 deck, he's going to add Shining Flare Wingman, a few other options. Some other combo possibilities, but still mostly with cards he has in the anime or are very closely associated with him in the games. But he's not going to use stuff like Evil Heroes or Masked Heroes, or even Vision Heroes for that matter, in a large amount before he gets to a version 4 deck. It just happens that he has 1 copy of Vision Hero Vion, I believe, both on version 1 and version 2 of his deck. If you have any suggestions on how I build certain decks, then please let me know. But the biggest thing I want to ask just for this reveal video is, 1, are you interested in Yu-Gi-Oh coming back to the channel? Are you interested in seeing these CPU duels? And if so, which characters would you like to see in the first tournament? First tournament, I'm probably going to use either V2 or V3 decks, and mostly what we're used to from them in the anime and games. However, eventually I will build to bigger tournaments. Some tournaments will use the weaker decks, some tournaments will use the bigger decks. It really just depends on the theme as well that I decide for each tournament. But if you want to see specific characters, like you're really a big fan of Rebecca Hawkins from the original anime, then just tell, hey, can you make a Rebecca deck? And I would like to see Rebecca in the first tournament. If there's, let's say, 2 or 3 comments saying, hey, I would like to see this character in the first big tournament, then I will put those characters in the big tournament and I will make a deck for them that I feel is appropriate. I can base them off of certain cards and decks that they use in other video games, sure, because I've used that for some of these as well. But yeah, I want to create excitement, and with the CPU duels being possible, I like a lot of this simulation. Even the WWE games, I don't really play the wrestling myself. I just mostly simulate a lot of matches and create my own world with that. And that is something I'm excited about here as well. Simulating the duels by just having the CPU control them. And then seeing what can be done from there. Creating some tiles, creating a narrative myself based on things that the CPU just does for me. Looking at this duel is looking good for Jimmy Bob. I think Jimmy Bob might be winning this. With Poison Rose and Neos in the hand for Jaden. Not looking too good. Something I could do is, let's say, put images of the characters that are dueling, in this case Jaden and Jimmy Bob, over the Duelist A and Duelist B, or in this case Duelist A and CPU screen. It's both CPUs, to be clear. But I could put the images over them to be a bit clearer who's dueling who at sometimes. But I'll try to say it as well before the duels, and then hopefully that'll be clear. Alright, we're 1-1. Jaden and Jimmy Bob both have a win. Who's gonna fight Mako in the finals of this little tournament? Ice Edge only is not looking too great. This is going second, so they might have a shot. Skyscraper as well. Galaxy Cyclone can take out a set. Nosp is not too bad. I think Nosp can only do the direct attack when there's two of them on the field. Not too much damage at least, thanks to Skyscraper. Moa Interceptor Cannons again for Jimmy Bob. One of the few cards in that deck with higher defense. Ooh, Tasmanian Devil. It's one of his better cards, and they can add a beast to the hand. There's Pale Beast. Ice Edge can just take out the Tasmanian Devil. That works out well. There comes Pale Beast, though. But Hero Barrier stops it. Doesn't stop Moe Interceptor Cannons, though. I'd say advantage for Jimmy Bob. Those Burstinatrix with Skyscraper, she would have been able to beat Pale Beast. And then Moe Interceptor Cannons couldn't beat Burstinatrix, but Trap Hole stops it. Big Eye summoned, Hero Blast comes out. Burstinatrix back to the hand, and Big Eye destroyed, but still 2 direct attacks coming in. Knowing both their monsters, Burstinatrix can't just come back and try the same thing she tried last turn. Why a Silo Hero? If you could have just done the thing with Burstinatrix. Oh, there goes the Heated Heart. Pale Beast can beat a Silo Hero, and then just the Moa and Zebra Cannons can attack. There's Master and Experts. Is that enough? I think it's just not 50. No? Yeah, no, it was enough. Jimmy Bob wins. I think it's just Jaden who got the first duel, but Jimmy Bob with the other 2. So it's going to be Jimmy Bob in the finals. Jimmy Bob wins 2-1. Mako Tsunami against Jimmy Bob. Set up Mako. Yes. There we go. Mako versus Jimmy Bob. Oh, we're gonna play in an ice field for this first one. Is that an advantage or a disadvantage for Mako? There's Tasmanian Devil to start for Jimmy Bob. We'll have Yumi and Unshaven Angler. In the deck, Terraform into a Yumi. Shocktopus. That's probably one of the better cards that Mako has, Shocktopus. It's a nice 1600 attack and get to 1800 with Yumi. Then when it's destroyed, it weakens the opponent's monster by quite a lot. Yeah, it just straight up takes you to 0. And it conjures battle position, so that's useful. Smashing Ground Deck gets Octopus, and that's not destroyed by battle, so it doesn't activate. That's a very nice way out for Jimmy Bob. The bicycle even fell down. That's sad. Metabo Shark. That's a strong one. Those continuous boosts from field spells, or perhaps from equipped spells, even if it's just a 300 or 400 for something like the Shell equipped spell that Mako has, or Raise Body Heat that the dinosaurs have in Rex's deck. It can be a big difference if the decks are this basic. Yumi down, but Tongyo still beats the baby dragon. And something Jimmy Bob didn't know is that they're just another Yumi in Mako's hand. Jimmy Bob not looking too good. A quarter of his deck is normal monsters, so Heart of the Underdog could activate, but so far it hasn't happened yet. Big damage. There's no Destiny draws in Master Duel. That's attack force exclusive thing. It's a normal monster. Acrobat Monkey. Might as well, because then they get another card. So Acrobat Monkey is likely the defense monster. That's 1800 defense. Will be smart to attack with Metabo Shark here, Mako. But I've noticed that Master Duel AI likes to attack with relatively weak monsters. Oh, that's a machine, actually. So it's get weakened by Yumi. His Manian Devil comes back. Therefore, with a block Tongyo, and Jimmy Bob survives this turn pretty well. Could have definitely been over already. There's Darkfire Soldier 1. We've already seen number 2. Summon makes sense, but it is weakened. Icebond comes in. That's a really strong card. That's one of Mako's biggest ones. If he has a strong field plus Icebond outs, you're pretty much done for in V1. Mako takes game 1. Let's go straight to game 2 and see how they do. Mako just needs one more to win this first tournament. Now, I did say that winning a tournament or getting a higher ranking in it puts you towards maybe the Pro League, or you get an early shot at, let's say, a certain championship. Even though this is an example tournament, I do intend to give some kind of an advantage to the winner of this, whether it's Jimmy Bob or Mako. And if that requires a V3 or V4 deck, I'll build such a deck for them. Something I also intend to do is right after this duel, well, duels perhaps, if the match isn't over by this duel, I'm going to show you the decks that I have so far, just to give you an idea of what I've been working on. Prevent Rat, that's the card I like. I just like the art of it. It's just there for defense, a little bit of attack, I guess. But that's very situational. It's a 2000 defense that it's there for. Gate attack, but Legendary Fisherman at least is able to stay on the field. Can Mako start by destroying some of their monsters. 7-color fish comes out. Fisherman takes a high defense prevent rat. Big Eye is able to set the next 5 cards. So Jimmy Bob knows what's coming. Did they choose the correct card? They chose that trap. That spell or trap that just played face down. That's the first one they chose off of Big Eye. It's Magical Arm Shield. I'd say that's a good one, because that costs Mako life points, costs them a monster. That's nice. It doesn't help Jimmy Bob really overtake them, but hey, it's somewhere. And with Shard of Greed active, this is card 2, 3, and 4 from Big Eye. One of them smashing ground, so that's good. Starfire Soldier is one of them. Prevent Rat comes back, but why? Why would you just play that? Unless your trap card wants someone to attack Prevent Rat. No. What was the point of playing Call of the Haunted there? Magic Cylinder, though. Love that animation. Also just love Magic Cylinder in general. That's how I played it in that deck. And this is the 5th card. Nothing yet. Sakuretsu Armor destroys Starfire Soldier. Set card place. I'd say Mako still has the advantage. But we don't know what the set cards are. Well, if I could have remembered what Mako's one is because we can see it. Oh, that's the card I intend to take out of Jimmy Bob's deck. I forgot I had really high defense. I just had it as something weak that could be resummoned by itself. But I don't want another monster with that high defense in the deck, especially if you can destroy it and then it resummons itself. Okay, Yumi boosting the attack stat of Mako's monster so that it allows it to get over Copycat. 7-color fish is gone, but so is Copycat due to Abyssal King Shark with a boost. They still need to be Dotscaper. Mystical Space definitely takes that Dust Tornado, so it's about an even trade. Attack position? What? Why? You have 0 attack? The AI really wants to attack with weak monsters. What in the world is wrong with them? Jimmy Bob just lost and gave up. Here comes Mako's Assault. What was that nonsense? Actually, no, Dot Scamper comes back. But still, what was that nonsense? Jimmy Bob, what did you do? You attacked with Dotscaper without anything that can really help you. Alright. Empress Mantis, one of the level 5 and 6s that Jimmy Bob has. Highest attack currently on the field, so that's good. Good for Jimmy Bob. Bunch of defense now for Mako. They can stall for a little while, but outside of Jellyfish, their defense aren't really high, so probably Jimmy Bob with none of the monsters can overtake him. There's Abyssal King Shark gun. Highest defense with Jellyfish is out. They'll probably flip summon Great White at this point. Get rid of Chaos Radical stuff. Yeah, I'd say that's smart. You take a bit of damage from Empress Mantis, but you take out one of their monsters, which saves you a lot more. Ooh. There's the other level 6, Ryu Koki. What can Mako do against Jimmy Bob? Mako wins as he wins the intro tournament. There's not huge combos. With, again, remember this. This is the version 1 decks. Ones that are considered pretty basic. Not super basic, but still pretty basic decks. With not too many really strong cards that are more towards like the original era, maybe GX era style of slower duels, which are the ones that I prefer the most. But depending on the tournament, depending on the characters, you see a lot of combos, you see little combos, you might see anti-meta stuff. Dimension Wall! But Trap Jammer! Mako thought he won with Dimension Ball, but Trap Jammer stops Dimension Wall because it's a battle phase trap. Wow, Jimmy Bob ties the finals. Oh, I thought Mako had it with Dimension Wall there. But no, we gotta do one more. We gotta do one more. Who's gonna win the introduction tournament? Mako Tsunami or Jimmy Bob? Jimmy's starting with Daybreaker. It's a nice 1700 attack, that's what it's there for. Now it's a 2000 attack for Mako. What's Jimmy gonna do against it? No spells and traps for now. Smashing Ground was drawn. Now Mystic Clown can deal 1500 attack damage unless Sakurot's armor just destroys it. I try to not pay too much attention to especially the traps that the first of the two players has in their hand because we can just see them. But I don't want to remember them. I want to be surprised. Sometimes I will make comments about them if it really catches my eye. But if in 2 turns I forget what his trap is, then that just makes it more exciting because you don't remember, you don't see things coming. Ooh, that might not be too smart. Piercing Mora is going to help out. There might crash. No, of course not. Legendary Fisherman Tribute Summon. Piercing Mora has been very good in some of the test duels I've done. But 1 or 2 duels where it really can be clutch. for Mako. $2,200 attack. What can be done? There's Piercing Moray, which can, by the way, inflict piercing battle damage. And with Yumi, that's 1,700 attack. Jimmy needs his Dot Scapers, Moe Interceptor Cannon, something in defense quickly, but even then, that'll be beaten by the legendary Fisherman too. Is this the final turn? I think Jimmy Bob just didn't draw the monsters he needed. Fisherman for the win? Fisherman for the win! And the winner of this introduction tournament, Mako Tsunami. I don't exactly know how yet, but Mako will be getting some kind of an advantage for a championship match, something in the future. Perhaps the top 3 of an 8-man tournament, plus the top 4 of then a 16-man tournament that I do after that. Those 8s will then go into their own tournament for a title. I don't know yet. Let me show you the decks that I have right now. We have Mako Tsunami, Rex Raptor, Jade, Yuki, Jimmy Bob. You have a general idea of what those decks are like. Here's version 2. This is Jaden. Some of the fusions, some better support, some polymerization stuff, Fusion Sage, Woodsman as well. Kept the hero cards in there because I like that. This is the second version of Mako's deck, now including Fortress Will and Fortress Will Oath. Some slightly better water support. Icebond's still there. Poseidon's Wave, Torrential Reborn. Gishki Chain is an 1800 attack water monster with something like now Legendary Ocean, or I think it's Atlantis. Gets to 2000, and it can help search for the ritual cards. There's Senju and Sonic Birds to help find them a little bit. And Nightmare Penguin to send a card back, but also nice defense. Gives a boost to the water monster. Spine Gilman there too. Still, competitively speaking, of current day Yu-Gi-Oh, this is still extremely weak, but it is definitely a step better than what Mako's original deck was. Yuma comes in. I don't have a version 1 deck for him, but I do have a version 2 deck. With some of his initial cards, or cards I felt were fitting for him for the extra deck. Some of the cards are little combos in here and there. Just one Kagetokaga and Goblinberg. It's a Mecha Bunny that can resummon itself, or maybe a Shining Elf Xyz. But nothing too strong, but there's definitely combo potential in there. And then one I just made, the most recent one, Solomon Muto, Yugi's grandfather. I decided to make him a version 2 deck, which is a bit more difficult because he plays just exotic. Where is the rest of his deck? Why does this man have 38 cards? Maybe I didn't pull all of his cards in. He's supposed to have a 40 card deck like everyone. I'll look into it. Then version 3. A bigger extra deck for Yusei and a bit out of his comfort zone. Or not really comfort zone is not the right word, but outside of the cards he would normally have. A Goyo Predator, a Wind Ignister, just because I feel like those would be some nice singles for him to have, while still staying relatively within the theme of certain things like Road Warrior, Junk Destroyer. He has a few TG cards. Hyper Librarian, Werewolf, and I have a Striker in there too. But still a lot of his own stuff. Quick Draw Synchron, Junk Synchron, Shield Wing, Fortress Warrior. That allow him to do the combos like Yusei is used to, and we're used to Yusei from the anime. Merrick has Gravekeepers. No extra deck I decided, because Gravekeepers with Necro Valley can also be pretty dangerous, and there's a lot of monster destruction cards in here. If you can get rid of the Necro Valley early, then can't find it again, sometimes that's really difficult for this deck, because Assailant doesn't activate without Necro Valley. Necro Valley stops certain decks, but it's not really high version decks in V3, so not that many graveyard effects. This deck generally needs Necro Valley to really be there to compete. Guard and Spy can take some nice hits with 1900 and 2000 defense without Necro Valley. But even that can be beaten by just a simple Tribute Summon. So it's a good deck if it can get going. if you either destroy, they just don't draw into Necro Valley, it's the more difficult form. I'll show you Atticus Roads a little bit already. Some big possibilities. There's a reason there's the version 4 deck, some combos in there. 3 Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. There's infusion stuff with King of the Swamp. Red Eyes. Meter Black Dragon's possible. 5-headed dragon will be a monster you'll see somewhat regularly. There's a Flampelt Guard in there, a bit for defense, but also because I decided let's just throw a bit of a synchro fun in there. I have a few synchro monsters, you won't see them too often. Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon exists because I thought, hey, there is an Xyz Red Eyes, so why not? If there's multiple Red Eyes on the field, maybe he'll decide bring in Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. And then finally, Blair Flanagan from the GX anime. I decided to give her a Light Sword deck because she does have Light Sword in at least some of her decks in Tag Force. So this is the deck that I gave her. It's a slightly altered version of a deck that I used in, I believe, Tag Force. But it was like sort of V3, sort of V4-ish. I decided to make it into a V4 deck. Add some tuners, 3 Raidens and a Felis. Add 1 BLS Envoy. Add some nice synchros. Add some Xyzs. They really like to bring out the Xyzs, I've noticed from the CPU. I have a Crush Guard Virus in there with Necroguard, Sangan, DD Crow. DD Crow in there are 2 copies because I feel like there's, at V4, there'll probably be a lot more cards that come from the grave or stuff like Monster Reborn, Call of the Hunter, trying to ping something from that, or there's entire synergies that the decks that make use of something in the grave, or DD Crow can get rid of that. One interesting thing I saw was I had this deck fight Merrick's deck with Necro Valley. Now, normally when Necro Valley is out, you cannot banish anything from any graveyard. However, Merrick tribute summoned Gravekeeper's Chief, which states that your graveyard is unaffected by Necro Valley. Which, it says that so that Gravekeeper's Chief can summon something from said graveyard, because you can just not move anything from the graveyard when Necro Valley is up either. But because their graveyard was unaffected by Necro Valley, DD Crow could be used to then banish what Gravekeeper's Chief was trying to summon. That was it for this video today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know what kind of characters you would like to see in tournaments like this. I'm excited to get this going soon. Make sure you always remember that you are worth it. Goodbye.